Let me ask you something most people never stop to consider. What if your financial struggles aren't just about what you're doing, but about what you're constantly exposed to? Not your job, not your effort, not even your strategy, but something far more subtle. Something you don't see, yet interact with every single day. Think about this. You can change your habits. You can try to think more positively. You can even follow all the right financial advice and still feel like something isn't clicking, like there's an invisible ceiling. You move forward, then get pulled back, again and again. Most people interpret this as bad luck or lack of discipline. But what if the issue isn't visible at all? What if it's something operating in the background, quietly influencing how you think, feel, and respond? Your brain isn't just a thinking machine. It's a responsive system. It reacts to patterns, to repetition, to rhythm, to signals in your environment. And over time, those signals begin to shape your baseline, your default way of operating. This is where the idea of frequency becomes important, not in a mystical sense, but in a practical one. Everything around you carries patterns. Sound is one of the most powerful. Even when you're not paying attention to it, your brain is still processing it, still adapting to it. Now imagine this. If the patterns you're exposed to every day create a state of tension, distraction, or imbalance, what kind of decisions are you likely to make? Short-term ones, reactive ones, inconsistent ones. And those decisions, over time, shape your financial reality. This is why two people with the same knowledge can end up in completely different situations. Because knowledge isn't the only variable, state matters. And state is influenced by what surrounds you. Here's something most people never question. Modern environments are filled with constant stimulation, noise, notifications, background audio, irregular patterns. And while it may seem normal, your brain is constantly trying to process and adapt to it. That creates subtle friction, a kind of internal interference. When that interference builds up, clarity drops, focus weakens, patience decreases. You start reacting instead of choosing. And without realizing it, you reinforce patterns that keep you stuck. This is what we mean by a hidden frequency. Not something you consciously hear, but something that shapes your internal rhythm over time. And here's the key point. You don't need to believe in it for it to affect you. Just like you don't need to understand how gravity works to feel its impact. Now, this doesn't mean one specific sound is good or bad in a simplistic way. It's about consistency, about what your brain adapts to over time. Because whatever becomes familiar becomes your baseline. If your baseline is scattered, your results tend to be scattered. If your baseline is stable, your actions become more consistent. And consistency is what builds results. So instead of asking, why am I not making more money? A more useful question might be, what is my mind adapting to every day? Because that adaptation happens automatically, whether you're aware of it or not. This is also why many people feel temporary motivation, but struggle to sustain it. They try to override their state with willpower, but the environment keeps pulling them back. Real change doesn't come from forcing yourself to think differently for a few minutes. It comes from gradually shifting what your brain considers normal. And once that shift begins, something interesting happens. You don't feel the need to force action as much. You start noticing opportunities more naturally. You make decisions with less resistance, and small improvements begin to stack. Not in a dramatic, overnight way, but in a steady, reliable direction. This is where most people get it wrong. They look for immediate results, quick wins, instant transformations. But the real shift happens underneath that, at the level of patterns and states. So if you've been feeling stuck financially, it might not be because you're missing the right strategy. It might be because something in your environment is constantly pulling you into a state that doesn't support growth. And until that changes, everything else feels harder than it should. In the next videos, we're going to explore this deeper. We'll look at how different patterns influence mental clarity, why certain states make action easier, and how subtle adjustments can start shifting your baseline over time. Because once you understand that, you stop fighting yourself and start working with how your mind actually operates. If this gave you a new way to look at your situation, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep building on this step by step. And if you're curious about the specific approach behind this idea, including how certain sound patterns are used to influence mental states, you can find more details in the link in the description and in the pinned comment. Go through it at your own pace and see how it connects with what we discussed today. I'll see you in the next video.